Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be kind of exploring how psychology and mythology kind of intersect with your big questions about helping others. We'll be using Carl Jung's work and the hero myth as our guide, looking at when helping is healthy, when it becomes a burden, and how to find that sweet spot.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how these ancient stories can offer insights into our modern lives.
It really is. And in the sources you shared, the hero's journey keeps popping up. Can you give us a quick overview?
Sure. The hero's journey is this universal pattern that Jung observed in myths worldwide. And it kind of reflects our psychological growth, starting with the impulsive trickster stage.
Like that coyote always causing mischief in those Native American tales, right?
Exactly. Yeah, the Winnebago tribe actually has 4 hero cycles. The trickster, the hare, red horn, and the twins, each representing a step towards maturity.
So it's like we all start as that impulsive trickster, learning through trial and error. Then we gradually evolve into a more mature, integrated hero, right?
That's the idea. You know, it's not just about external achievements, but about becoming aware of who you are and what you're capable of.
But here's where it gets kind of tricky. The sources suggest that even altruism has a shadow side. How can helping others be a bad thing?
Well, think about it this way. Have you ever felt pressured to help someone, even if it wasn't truly what they needed or what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Jung believed that unconscious desires for recognition or validation can lurk behind seemingly selfless acts. So someone who's constantly offering help, even when it's not asked for, might actually be seeking admiration or trying to boost their own self-esteem.
So their helping isn't really about the other person's needs.
Not entirely. And, you know, while on the surface this might seem harmless, it can actually create some unhealthy dynamics.
Yeah.
Imagine a friend who constantly reminds you of all the favors they've done for you. That can feel controlling, right?
Definitely. It's like their helping is more about them than you.
Exactly. It becomes about control and validation rather than genuine care.
So what's the antidote to this kind of shadow altruism?
Awareness is the first step. Ask yourself, why am I helping in this situation? What am I hoping to gain? Am I truly meeting the other person's needs, or am I trying to fulfill some unmet need within myself?
That's a great point. It's like we need to check our motivations at the door before jumping in to save the day.
Right. And this brings us to another archetype, the martyr.
Ah, the martyr. Always sacrificing themselves for others, often to their own detriment.
Yes, they constantly give, often blurring boundaries and creating unhealthy dependencies in their relationships.
Okay, so let's say you recognize yourself in this martyr archetype. What's the way out? Jung wouldn't say to stop helping altogether, would he?
He wouldn't. It's about approaching helping with a healthier mindset, recognizing your own needs and setting healthy boundaries. Remember, true helping is about empowering others, not creating dependency.
So it's not about becoming a heartless Scrooge. It's about finding that balance between giving and taking care of yourself.
Exactly. And, you know, sometimes the most helpful thing you can do for someone is to simply hold space for them, listen without judgment, and trust their ability to find their own solutions.
It's about empowering them to be the hero of their own journey.
Precisely. And this is where self-care becomes crucial.
Okay, let's talk about self-care. What are some practical things people can do to replenish their energy when they're feeling drained from helping others?
Think about it like this. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly giving without taking time to refill your own well, you'll eventually burn out.
So what fills your cup?
For me, it's spending time in nature, reading a good book, or simply having a quiet evening at home. It's different for everyone. But the key is to identify what truly nourishes you and make it a priority.
What are some other things that help you stay grounded and avoid burnout?
Well, one technique I find helpful is visualization. Imagine yourself surrounded by a shield that deflects negative energy. It's a way of symbolically reinforcing your boundaries.
I like that, a protective bubble of sorts.
Exactly. It's a reminder that you don't have to absorb everyone else's emotions. You can offer support without taking on their burdens as your own.
This is all great advice. But learning to say no is probably the most challenging part, right? Especially for people pleasers like me.
It can be tough, but it's essential. Remember, you're not responsible for solving everyone's problems. Saying no to a request doesn't mean you're a bad person. It simply means you're honoring your own needs and limits.
This has been so helpful, but I'm curious, how does this focus on helping others affect our own personal growth, that journey of individuation that Jung talked about?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll explore in more depth in the next part of our deep dive.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're unraveling the hero's journey and how it relates to helping others, using the fascinating ideas of Carl Jung. Before the break, we were talking about self-care and setting boundaries.
Yeah, it's all about balance, isn't it? Taking care of yourself so you can show up authentically for others.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned that we'd explore how this ties into Jung's concept of individuation, that journey of becoming our true selves. Can you explain that connection for us?
Imagine individuation as this path that's leading you towards wholeness, integrating all aspects of yourself, even the messy bits. Sometimes focusing too much on helping others can actually become a detour on that path.
Like we get so caught up in everyone else's stories that we forget to write our own.
Precisely. You might even notice signs from your unconscious that something's off kilter.
What kind of signs are we talking about?
Think recurring dreams, persistent anxiety, or even feeling stuck in a rut. These can be signals that you're neglecting your own needs and inner work.
So how do we know if our helping is truly coming from a place of service, or if it's a way of avoiding our own growth?
It requires some honest self-reflection. Ask yourself, what are my motivations here? Am I truly acting from a place of love and compassion, or am I trying to fill a void within myself?
It's like we need to shine a light on our own shadow side, those parts of ourselves we might be projecting onto others.
Exactly. And integrating those shadow aspects is key to individuation. It's about accepting all parts of ourselves, the light and the dark, to become whole.
That makes sense. But sometimes, even when we have the best intentions, things can get complicated. Like what happens when our own unresolved issues get tangled up in our helping relationships?
You're talking about transference, a concept that Jung explored extensively. It's about unconsciously projecting past experiences and emotions onto others, particularly in helping roles.
So for example, if I'm working with a therapist and start seeing them as a critical parent figure, that could be transference at play.
Exactly. It's like those old patterns and emotions are getting replayed in the present. And recognizing it is the first step to healing those old wounds.
This is fascinating stuff, but it also feels a bit daunting. How do we navigate these complex dynamics, both as helpers and those seeking help?
Let's start with those in helping roles. It's crucial to be mindful of those power dynamics and maintain healthy boundaries.
So it's not about becoming emotionally detached, but about finding that balance between empathy and professional distance.
Yes. And for those seeking help, it's important to be aware of your own tendencies to project past experiences onto the helper. Open communication is key. If you notice those transference patterns emerging, talk about them. It can lead to some profound insights and growth.
This all makes me think about times when I've felt completely drained by helping others. It's like I gave them all my energy and I was left feeling empty. Is this something Jung addressed?
He did. Jung emphasized the importance of protecting your energy when you're in a helping role. He used the analogy of a glass of water. You can't keep pouring out without refilling or you'll run dry.
That's such a vivid image. So how do we refill our glass, so to speak?
It starts with becoming aware of your own emotions and recognizing when you're absorbing other people's energy. It's like developing an emotional radar.
Okay, so I'm noticing that I'm feeling anxious after spending time with a friend who's going through a difficult time. What's next?
That's where those self-care practices we discussed earlier come in. Visualization can be incredibly helpful. Imagine a white light surrounding you, filtering out any negative energy you might have absorbed.
And then, of course, there's actually doing something to replenish your energy, right?
Absolutely. What activities truly nourish your mind, body, and spirit? It could be anything from taking a walk in nature to listening to your favorite music to spending time with loved ones. Make time for those things that fill your cup.
So it's not selfish to prioritize our well-being.
Not at all. It's essential. Remember, you can't truly help others if you're running on empty.
This is all so insightful, but I feel like we've just scratched the surface. What else can you tell us about cultivating a healthy approach to helping others?
Well, we've talked about the importance of self-awareness, setting boundaries, and self-care, but there's another element that can offer guidance on this journey: synchronicities.
Synchronicity. Those meaningful coincidences that feel like little winks from the universe.
Exactly. Jung saw them as messages from our unconscious, often guiding us toward a path of greater wholeness.
So how do synchronicities relate to our discussion about helping others?
Imagine this. You're feeling conflicted about a situation where someone is asking for your help. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, you stumble upon a quote or have a chance encounter that offers clarity and affirms your intuition. That could be a synchronicity nudging you in the right direction.
It's like the universe is conspiring to help us find our way.
It often feels that way. Pay attention to those seemingly random events and messages that resonate deeply. They might offer clues about whether your helping is aligned with your true purpose.
That's amazing. But what about when those synchronicities seem to be absent? Like, what if you're feeling stuck or unsure about whether your helping is truly helpful?
Those feelings of stagnation can be a sign that it's time to reevaluate your approach. Maybe you need to set firmer boundaries, or perhaps you're being called to focus on your own growth for a while. Trust your gut feelings, they often hold wisdom.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. This is where that individual journey comes into play. There's no right or wrong way to be a helper. It's about finding what feels authentic and sustainable for you.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of what it means to help others in a way that's both empowering and fulfilling. But I'm eager to hear more. What other insights do you have for us? We're back for the final part of our deep dive into helping others, exploring those fascinating connections between psychology, mythology, and your personal experiences. Before the break, we were discussing how synchronicities can guide us on this path.
Yeah, it's like those meaningful coincidences. They act as signposts almost, pointing us toward a more balanced and fulfilling way of being in service.
I love that analogy. But after all this talk about the shadow side of altruism, transference, and the importance of boundaries, it can feel like a minefield out there. How can we approach helping others with confidence and clarity?
Well, it's a journey, not a destination, right? And like any hero's journey, it's going to be full of twists and turns. But remember, the goal isn't to become some perfect, selfless being. It's about striving for that balance between giving and receiving, between caring for others and honoring your own needs.
So it's not about becoming a saint or a martyr.
Not at all. Think of it more like becoming, a wise and compassionate guide. Supporting others on their journey without losing yourself in the process.
Okay, that feels much more manageable. But how do we actually put all these insights into practice?
It starts with integrating everything we've discussed so far. Self-awareness, setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and paying attention to those synchronicities.
So it's about weaving all these threads together.
Exactly. It's an ongoing process, a dance between giving and receiving, between focusing inward and reaching outward. And remember, the hero's journey isn't about achieving some external victory. It's about the internal transformation that takes place along the way.
It's about becoming the hero of your own life.
Precisely. Embracing all parts of yourself, the light and the shadow, and using those experiences to connect with others in a more authentic and meaningful way.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for navigating the complexities of helping others. But before we wrap up, is there one final piece of wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yes. And it's something Jung himself said that I find incredibly powerful. He said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed."
Wow, that's beautiful. So it's not just the person being helped who is transformed, the helper is also changed by the encounter.
Exactly. It's a reciprocal process, a dance of transformation where both parties are enriched by the exchange.
So as we close out this deep dive, I'm left with this thought for you to ponder. What lead might be present in your own motivations for helping? And how can you begin to transform it into gold? Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.